All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Pelvic Pain Natters podcast. My name is Karl Monahan. I'm the owner of the Pelvic Pain Clinic, a founder of Pelvic Pain Matters, and a former sufferer of pelvic pain myself. Today, we are going to cover the subject of, I'm going to call it dismissal. This is patient wisdom, really. This is glimpses of absolute gold from my patients and things that I hear week in, week out that really tell me so much about how patients are suffering. It informs my practice and it really helps me to try and help you, if you are a patient, go through this with greater understanding, with more hope, with more purpose, with more support, with more understanding, and for you to be heard and seen and listened to. I've done a podcast on this beforehand, but I can't help but update it and give you more um, more evidence here. Really, it's not good evidence. And it's a real shame to hear this, but it points at a number of issues with the medical world right now. Although Dr. Curtis Nickel, he's now retired, he was one of the most eminent researchers of male pelvic pain and had been for decades. Um, and if you're interested in anything, any research to do with prostatitis or male pelvic pain, take a look at Dr. Curtis Nickel's work. Outstanding, really critical in a good way of what the research is out there and what it's suggesting as well. So if you're interested in the research side of things, go and take a look at his work. Decades ago, he described this condition as a waste bucket diagnosis, as a throwaway condition that is poorly understood by the medical world, um, where the urologist dishes out their antibiotic of the month, and would rather not see another pelvic pain or prostatitis or pudendal neuralgia. I see that's interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome or hard flaccid syndrome, would rather not see another one of those patients in their office again. That's quite an old quote. I'm paraphrasing. I'm pretty sure that quote came from something like 1999. Don't quote me on that. But it's a really old quote, but I think it's still applicable today. That so many of you will have heard this and felt this and seen this and experienced it firsthand yourself, is dismissal from the medical world. And the issue here lies in the fact that for the vast majority of the cases, probably including yours, from a medical point of view, the test results come back negative, or they're a bit ambiguous, or then they're inconclusive and not consistent. And so what often happens is that you get dished out the antibiotic of the month. Whatever antibiotic that urologist is happening to try out this month. I'm being really dismissive of the urological world here. There are some amazing urologists out there. Let's not forget that. And there are plenty of urologists that I refer my patients to and they refer their patients on to me. However, this is not typical. This is not what we would call standard. And unfortunately, the number of patients that I've seen and spoken to in the period of time that I have been treating this condition and seen tens of thousands of men, the vast majority of people's experiences of urological appointments and even GP appointments as well is dismissal. This isn't the GP's fault. It's not a urologist's fault. It is the whole setup of the condition and the understanding of the condition. And the fact that the medical world at the moment does not fully understand or appreciate this is changing, and it is slow. And we are doing our very best to raise the awareness of this condition. But I want to point out, I'm going to give an example very shortly of a patient I spoke to recently. He's a young man in his early 20s, but the way he was treated by his urologist was by far the worst response I have ever come across. It was disgusting. And it left the patient feeling completely unheard, completely unseen. It left the patient feeling dismissed and unhopeful, and a whole bunch of very, very other strong emotions and words that I'm not going to repeat here. I might repeat one of them or two of them because I felt really disgusted and disheartened and let down by what was told to this particular patient. It wasn't the first appointment he'd had with a urologist. He'd been to a urologist beforehand, he'd seen a number of GPs, and the condition and the symptoms he was dealing with were really distressing for him. They were mainly focused around post-sexual activity, whether that was masturbation or penetrative sex. But the symptoms were really, really invasive and changing his life to so he became a shadow of his former self. Now, sexual activity and sitting are two of the most common causes of flare-ups with this particular condition, and it can make it a real challenge because, listen, we can have a choice over whether we have sexual activity or not. We can put it on hold, we can abstain. More on this in a moment. But sitting is something that's pretty fundamental to most of the lives that we lead in the West, whether that's for work or commuting, whether that's for eating, whether that's for relaxation and social time. So when a patient's symptoms have that much of an impact over them, it's pretty difficult to see beyond it and past it and around it and see a way through it. Sexual activity, like I said, we do have a choice. Although I do know patients, and again, maybe this is you, who are trying to conceive at the moment. And so that I've been there. I've been through a journey of infertility as well. That 2-week cycle of sexual activity followed by waiting for a test to see if our partners have conceived, and then that merry-go-round over and over and over again, and that difficulty of that drudgery of the change to my relationship with sexual activity not being fun and intimate and sexy and connecting, but more, it feels quite instructive. It feels quite clunky. The joy is often taken out of it as well. So if you are going through that at the moment, I really feel for you. I understand it. I now have 2 beautiful boys, 5 and 8 years old, but I went through my own infertility journey, and maybe that's something I'll share at a later point as well in another podcast. Right, enough of this banging on about skirting around the subject and the topic. I hear you say, what was it that this urologist said? Okay, all right, okay. So you might be watching this on a video, or you might be hearing this. I'll do the action that the urologist gave, and then I'll also explain it for those of you who aren't watching this on video. So in being given an explanation by the urologist to the patient about why he's experiencing his symptoms, the urologist suggested that it was perhaps a combination of nerves and muscles. The patient had paid 300 quid for this 15-minute appointment, and so he wanted to know, he wanted to understand in a little bit more depth. I think that's understandable, isn't it? I think that's perfectly normal for someone who's been given an ambiguous answer to a very important, pivotal question to ask again for clarification. So my patient repeated the words that he had been told. So you're saying that this is a nerve or muscular issue? Again, I'm paraphrasing for the benefit of the podcast. The reaction from the urologist was to tut and to wave him away. You can see this on the video, like swatting a fly that had infiltrated his space. The reaction of the urologist, I'll repeat this again, the reaction of the urologist was to tut, roll his eyes and wave his hand like he was trying to shoo a fly that was hovering over his food, or a mosquito that was in his face. That's disgusting. That is absolutely and I've heard some pretty horrific responses from urologists, but that has to top them all. That is just appalling. Surely, surely we as people who are suffering or have suffered with male pelvic pain deserve better than that. To be dismissed by a tut and a shake of the hand. Something needs to change. That I can't. It still irks me now. And I heard this story about a month ago, 3 and a bit weeks ago, and it still grates on me. And I use it with my patients often. I'm using it with you now. If you are a patient, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have your own experience of your own dismissal, or throwaway comment from a medic? There are some amazing medics out there. Let's not dismiss them all. Let's not whitewash the whole situation. But fuck me, come on. That is, we need to give patients, male pelvic pain patients, more kudos, more respect than that. If you are a clinician and you're hearing this, please, and I don't expect that that would be your response, please tell me that's not your response. I would imagine that if that's your response and your reaction to a patient asking you another question, you're possibly not listening to this podcast. If you are, take a look at yourself. Genuinely look in the mirror, place yourself in the shoes of that patient, and you may not know the answer to his question. That's fine. Admit it. I don't know what's going on. It's fine to say that. It's a much better answer than and shaking your hand like you're waving a piece of a fly that's hovering over shit away from you. You can tell this has got me a little bit wound up. I hope it has for you, for the right reasons as well. Something needs to change. That's not good enough. All right, together, we are hoping to make a change. Pelvic pain matters. It really, really does. Why do you think we've called it this? Pelvic pain does matter. My name is Karl Monahan. This has been a bit of a rant. I'm sorry about that, but I really want to get a point across that that is not acceptable. Hope you found this interesting. Hope you found that helpful, entertaining, emotive. We'd love to hear from you. So comment, share, subscribe, do all of the things. Let me know your experience yourself. You'll find all of our details below. And my name is Karl Monahan. This is a Friday takeaway. This is Pelvic Pain Natters. This is the podcast dedicated to male pelvic pain conditions. Hope that's been fun, enjoyable, emotive, triggering. Let's make pelvic pain matter. Until next time.